Abusuan Ghana Mampani, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and Anchocho for Penny Bawa Muktari, a kind of home, Norma BP Mo, Kempinski, Good Coach Hotel has seen na Wamubaya, na Womane, Sierra Leone Mampani, Yera Julius Maada Bio, any Liberia Mampani, Joseph Boakai, Oma BP Mwaha, a Bibria Mai Muha, and Penifua Hodor Ekamoho, Nagan. Abusuan Baya na wani Sierra Leone Mampani Julius Maada Bio, any Liberia Mampani Joseph Boakai, and Oma Common Tamapano. Na Abibria Muhammad Mpenifo Bebre na Foreign Affairs Ministry se oho nyina ministers no nyina ya BP mu habia. Ghana your Foreign Affairs Ministry opani Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa Edano and what the high level consultative conference on regional cooperation and security ahyehyɛ so na dwumadie yi wɔn ɛbotae nyinaa ɛne sɛ wɔn hwɛ abibire mu ha na ɛkame ayɛ sɛ woyi terrorism a ɛkɔ so awiase nyinaa na abibire mu ha ɛna ɛdi ne mpɔmpɔn so paa ɛno akyi nso no sɛ yɛmfa nubɔne yɛntwa bɔda sɛ yɛmfa nkurɔfoɔ bi yɛn traffic wɔn ntwa bɔda ne nneɛma a ɛnsɛm fata no abibire mu ha ɛtaa kɔ so paa nti wɔn hwɛ akeka adwene aku Omo hukwan mbefa so no mo apɛ oma no ne sibre no nti ene nam so ama dwumadi om de ahye so na dwumadi na ɛda mienu ene om de si hwa na edi kan no om koye no wo Moving Peak Ambassador Hotel ene se ne wo mu wie no ɛwɔ Kempinski no na busua ha Ghana News TV ɛso no ani gua ahwen medin ene nana sepa ahwen bobo bibi ekoso ha no ma behwe a metwa ɛde akyerɛ mo na mate mo ahu ne ekoso ha let's just send in the about Hermia. Now was subscribing was said ama bomodi answer download LemFi. Never send this kefia man on say or Canada or US or Europe baby house and this cabo my Ghana mo. Download LemFi nebo news shemu. Wet me nya kwanya no amo machi usika pudu. Abusia yenkwe. Enhwentie ne ekoso e wa hase.
Framework for cooperation in the fight against the spread of terrorism and violent extremism. Initial sponsors of the Accra initiative were Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Togo, with Niger and Mali joining along the road. I'm sad to note that the advent of the AES configuration and the accompanying mistrust that has been engendered between once cordial sub-regional allies has rendered the Accra initiative ineffective. And yet the dangers we face from terrorism and violent extremism are a common challenge and a threat to us all. Ghana has always believed that we should forge a consensus to create a new framework for cooperation that takes account of the common threat we face and at the same time respects the sovereignty and political choices of all nations in our sub-region. Yesterday's violent attack in Niger reminds us of the existential threat we all face from these terrorist and violent extremists. And on all your behalfs, I wish to express our solidarity with the government and people of Niger. Today's conference is the first step for achieving a consensus on how we move forward as brothers to confront a danger to our common home. Not all our brother nations are here at this first consultative summit, but it is my hope that in reaching this consensus, we'll be able to draw the cooperation and support of all nations that exist within this sub-region. When I assumed office as President of the Republic of Ghana in January 2025, I spoke of renewal as both a necessity and a duty. I emphasize the need to confront our realities honestly, restore confidence in public institutions, and rebuild inclusive, resilient, and forward-looking societies. Those principles were articulated in a national context, but they were never intended to stop at Ghana's national borders. They speak directly to our sub-region because the destinies of our states are inseparably linked by our geography, our history, culture, and our shared human experience. In our region, progress in one country strengthens the collective, while instability or insecurity in another part reverberates across our borders. It is therefore neither realistic nor sustainable for any state to pursue peace, security, or prosperity in isolation. This reality places upon us a shared responsibility to address our challenges not as isolated national concerns, but as common obligations requiring our collective action and mutual accountability. Our sub-region is far more than a collection of neighboring sovereign nations. It is a deeply interconnected community shaped by centuries of shared histories, trade, migration, and cultural exchange. Long before these modern political boundaries came into existence, our people interacted freely, building networks of commerce, kinship, and cooperation that continue to define our societies even till today. Those enduring connections have made collaboration not only desirable, but indispensable. The movement of people, goods, and services across our borders sustains millions of livelihoods in all our countries. Transport corridors connect landlocked economies to the ports and global markets. Cross-border trade and border markets support food security and employment, and also incomes for communities on both sides of our national boundaries. Our shared rivers, our river basins, our forests, and ecological zones demand collective stewardship. At the same time, this interdependence means that threats do not respect borders. When insecurity takes root in one country, its effects can convulse the entire region. When trust between states is weakened, our collective capacity to respond effectively is diminished, and it is our citizens who bear the cost. Your Excellencies, our sub-region today faces a convergence of security, economic, social, and environmental pressures. Violent extremism, terrorism, transnational organized crime, unconstitutional changes of government, youth unemployment, climate-induced vulnerabilities interact in ways that strain national institutions and test our regional solidarity. These are increasingly fluid, asymmetric, and interconnected. They challenge traditional state-centric responses and demand a shift towards a more integrated understanding of human security, preventive diplomacy, and collective resilience, principles that are firmly embedded in the ECOWAS security architecture. Systems designed for an earlier era must now confront threats that are faster moving, cross-border, and deeply rooted in socioeconomic conditions. Without effective coordination and sustained political commitment, even well-intentioned responses struggle to deliver lasting results. The history of cooperation in our sub-region offers valuable lessons. Through ECOWAS and other arrangements, we have built platforms for dialogue, early warning systems, mediation, peacekeeping, and collective action. At critical moments, these mechanisms have helped prevent conflict, restore constitutional order, and stabilize fragile situations. These experiences confirm a central truth. Regional solidarity works when it is underpinned by trust, consistency, and political will. At the same time, we must be candid. Our collective efforts have not always achieved the outcomes that we desired. Coordination gaps, overlapping mandates, limited follow-through, and uneven national ownership have sometimes weakened the impact of these efforts. The lesson is clear. Existing frameworks remain essential, but they must be strengthened, better coordinated, and adapted to today's realities. It is in recognition of this reality that this high-level consultative conference has been convened. Our objective is not to replace existing ECOWAS mechanisms, but to reinforce and complement them by improving coherence, strengthening coordination, enhancing effectiveness across security, expressing solidarity, development, and resilience. We aim to lay the foundations for a renewed framework that respects national sovereignty while reinforcing collective responsibility, that prioritizes preventive diplomacy and early action, that integrates security responses with development and governance, and that places the well-being of our people at the center of policy. This approach is fully aligned with the visions of our multilateral partners in ECOWAS and the African Union, of a people-centered, rules-based, and secure Africa. Your Excellencies, peace and security cannot be sustained by force alone. In its broadest sense, development is the cornerstone of lasting stability. When young people have access to quality education, relevant skills, and decent employment, they are less vulnerable to recruitment by extremist or criminal networks. When communities experience inclusive growth and responsive governance, social cohesion is strengthened and trust in institutions is restored. Investments in infrastructure, healthcare, agriculture, energy, and regional connectivity reduce the vulnerability of our nations and expand opportunity. Economic integration and trade facilitation reinforce resilience of our economies. This integrated approach, linking security, development, governance, and social cohesion, is central to regional security thinking, and it is reflected in the outcome document that we shall be considering soon. The outcome document we are considering deliberately brings together: 1, preventive approaches to peace and security; 2, sustaining economic integration; 3, establishing social resilience; and 4, institutional coordination. It recognizes that these are not competing priorities, but these are mutually reinforcing pillars of a comprehensive strategy for stability and shared prosperity. Our citizens will judge our success not by the strength of our declarations, but by the tangible improvements they experience in their daily lives. This places upon us a responsibility to ensure effective implementation, measurable outcomes, and sustained follow-through. Distinguished colleagues, we must take full ownership of our policy direction and our strategic choices, while ensuring that national institutions remain the primary engines of implementation. Regional frameworks must support, not replace, national responsibility. This consultative conference therefore adopts a pragmatic, outcome-driven approach focused on shared priorities, early wins, and confidence building through visible progress. Though through sustained engagement grounded in mutual respect and a shared purpose, we can rebuild trust amongst ourselves. We can strengthen regional solidarity and reaffirm our collective commitment to peace, security, and constitutional order. Your Excellencies, as I conclude, we stand at a critical crossroads. By choosing unity over fragmentation, cooperation over isolation, and preventive action over reaction, we demonstrate to our citizens that leadership is defined by courage, foresight, and solidarity. May this conference be remembered as the first step and a turning point, one that reaffirmed our collective resolve to act together and to shape a future that is defined by stability, resilience, and shared prosperity. I thank you for your leadership, constructive engagement, and steadfast partnership. I wish to thank all of you for attending, and on this note, I wish to declare this consultative conference officially open. guide you as to what we should do next. Like I said, we're going to consider the outcome document, and once we have done that, we'll come back into this hall to officially read the document, go through it, and we'll bring the summit to a close.
Warriors here, this is gungulung 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 gung. This is Ghana News TV. The time is 6 o'clock. Let me follow Ghana.
So send this kefia manoni aba Africa ha. Use LemFi. Say ye fear wo pese won tono. Use LemFi. E dan ya na say japade a wani da so a pese oto Africa ha no. Use LemFi. So wo send this sika ama odofo e de aboa no Africa ha. Use LemFi. Sanso e na say uti obi school fees ama no a. Use LemFi. Nyenti ame kanfo LemFi ama one say utimi send this ka e fa LemFi so a e ma ni begu bank account mu sanso e na timi begu mobile money account mu. Eno achi nso no de bia LemFi e wo daily rate a e ma hu sika dodo a wo send a wo benya. LemFi e secured na wo send this ka enche na nipa wo send ama no ne nsa aka. LemFi wo USA, Canada, UK, Italy, Germany, Ireland, Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, Portugal, and France. What the LemFi send this car? Untu ahwe. Bomadian they use me code NEWS news. Na say any day they can register or LemFi so a unya bonus. Sanso and now use chance so a ye wo bonuses ahodo a ye de ma.
Extremism. On a daily basis, at least 8 terror attacks are recorded, which claims averagely 44 lives. More than half of all global terrorism-related deaths are recorded in our region. We are witnessing an alarming uptick in extremist attacks for which inaction is not an option. The high-level conference was preceded by deliberations of ministers of foreign affairs, defense, and security and intelligence chiefs of the states, with the participation of partners from the African Union Commission, United Nations Development Programme, and contributions from relevant civil society organizations. The conference sought to rebuild and deepen sub-regional collaboration, focusing on enhancing resilience, restoring confidence, and addressing the structural roots of insecurity. Rather than relying on episodic diplomacy or limited operational coordination, the strategic goal was to establish a structured and permanent framework for cooperation. This framework is designed to develop shared programs, standards, and infrastructure priorities while managing common risks. By fostering engagement with states central to the counter-terrorism effort, the initiative recognizes that fragmentation incurs heavy economic, social, and security costs that diminish collective problem-solving capacity. At the end of the meeting, participants reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening regional cooperation to address the evolving peace, security, and governance challenges in order to rebuild regional stability. They also declared that sustainable security in Western Africa calls for a shift toward a human security approach, underpinned by regional solidarity, respect for sovereignty, and a people-centered, gender-responsive approach to peace building. On security and counter-terrorism, the high-level consultative conference, recognizing the inextricable link between transnational organized crime and violent extremism, agreed to A, strengthen regular meetings of states in the region to review peace and security commitments. B, strengthen intelligence and information sharing and reinforce the harmonization of legal frameworks to enhance the cross-border prosecution of terrorism-related offenses while safeguarding human rights. C, strengthen the implementation of de-radicalization programs. In respect of border security and counterterrorism, to combat the fluid movement of criminal and extremist elements, this high-level conference committed to A, consider adopting a hot pursuit by bilateral, unilateral, or multilateral agreement to support the fight against transnational crimes. B, design a foundational memorandum of understanding and protocols on cooperation and security within 6 calendar months after this high-level consultative conference to serve as the basis for further agreements, be they bilateral, minilateral, or multilateral. C, formulate the draft foundational memorandum of understanding within 3 months for consideration of the heads of state and government in a process to be led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana. D, strengthen mechanisms against all forms of trafficking, including narcotics, human, and arms. On governance and human security, acknowledging that military responses alone cannot ensure lasting peace, the high-level conference pledged to A, prioritize human security in national strategies, including food security, healthcare, job creation, and education. B, bolster local governance to ensure the state's presence is felt through service delivery rather than only security enforcement. C, leverage digital and emerging technology to modernize governance and improve border management and public service delivery. Regarding humanitarian and climate resilience, recognizing climate change as a threat multiplier, the high-level conference agreed to A, integrate climate security and food security into regional peace and security planning. B, develop a collective disaster preparedness and response framework, including mechanisms for humanitarian assistance, protection, and support for displaced populations. The high-level conference agreed on the following next steps. A, recommend the consultative conference as a biannual platform. B, expedite the development of the foundational memorandum of understanding that will serve as the legal basis for bilateral, minilateral, and multilateral security cooperation, thereby developing a cooperation framework that enhances connectivity, livelihoods, social resilience, and institutional coordination that can directly support stability and collective safety. The foundational MOU shall delineate the resource mobilization mechanism of this framework. It was agreed that a mechanism shall be established for tracking progress of the implementation of the outcomes of this meeting for the agreed biannual consultative meetings. Finally, the high-level conference concluded with a renewed sense of regional solidarity, with a firm resolve to move beyond dialogue, turning these commitments into measurable outcomes that protect the lives and livelihoods of citizens across the region and ensures strict monitoring to guarantee implementation of the outcomes of this communique. This communique is issued here in Accra, Ghana, on 30th January 2026 on the authority of the heads of state and representatives at this high-level consultative conference. I thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Foreign Minister.
So we send this cafe amanoni aba Africa ha use LemFi. Say ye fear wo pese wo ntono use LemFi. Edan ya na say japade a wani da so a pese oto Africa ha no use LemFi. So we send this sika ama odofo e de aboa no Africa ha use LemFi. Sanso e na say uti obi school fees ama no a use LemFi. Nyenti a me kanfo LemFi ama one say utimi send this sika e fa LemFi so a e ma ne begu bank account mu sanso e na timi begu mobile money account mu. Enu achi nso no de bia LemFi e wo daily rate a e ma hu sika dodo a wo send a wo benya. LemFi e secured na wo send this car enche na nipa wo send ama no ne nsa aka. LemFi wo USA, Canada, UK, Italy, Germany, Ireland, Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, Portugal, and France. What the LemFi send this car? Untu ahwe. Bomodian dey use me code NEWS news. Na say any day they can register or LemFi so a unya bonus. Sanso and now use chance so a ye wo bonuses ahodo a ye de ma.
Me no makwekwe sa sempa kania. Se me nam na meti asempa no ma mo amane a na ma no keka me. Anyem bia what ANS Trading Agency Limited nka. Se wo ka say door to door for no de na e watwa. E sense wo bia no wa wo say wo was door to door business nim. Wo nyoma wo UK a wo de ko Ghana. Ana say Germany a wo de ko Ghana. 3 to 5 weeks e be kwa kodu nipa ne puno no say try. Na de mo demo sronko wo say adwuma de we mu ne say wo ho bo no. E da form say boko. ANS Trading Agency Limited. E wo air freight special service. And on nyoma no ye de be fa plane. Entintempa na akwa Obetima for South Africa, we also the Nyuma free Ghana, Aqua UK, and Germany. FAGG them, which are also a year, I mean drop a bomb. ANS Trading Agency Limited pair, and a 40-footer, any 20-footer container. FA UK, Edico Ghana, and Germany, Edico Ghana. Oma Manioma Yemre, importo, exporto, them there for you. Omo Ghana Namani, 0249 170 423. UK has over Freya 0790 802 7527. Germany 09173 771 2733. Ubenya ANS Trading Agency Limited. Our West Croydon ANS Trading Agency Limited. Quantum Brantem. Wana beboya baso. Maybe next time in your fill up from the bebro.